Good evening, and welcome back. Fall is upon us now, and the nights are getting longer. There's a chill in the air, by which I mean it didn't quite hit 100 degrees here today in Texas. So that was nice. Also, we're beginning to see the arrival of plastic skeletons in all the stores, which always puts a smile on my face. Particularly the skeletons with ear bones, which hold a special place in my cold, dark heart. I also enjoy the skeletal arachnids, which I find quite amusing. I don't think I've seen a skeletal cephalopod yet, but the season's early yet. Hope springs eternal. As a child, I had a plastic skeleton of my own, which my aunt gave me to keep after a Halloween party. I named him Mr. Bones. I wasn't a very clever child. He did, however, inspire me to fabricate a whole undead army of construction paper skeletons to serve under his command. Their joints were held together with metal brads forming a hinge of sorts, which allowed me to arrange them in all kinds of terrifying poses. Provided, of course, that they maintain their two-dimensional aspect. Sort of like a bunch of Flash animation puppets. Does anyone still remember Flash animations? Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. The gist of it is that I've always liked skeletons. I played a lot of Diablo 2. I tried Diablo 3 when it came out, but it wasn't quite the same. The Witch Doctor just didn't have the same appeal for me as the Necromancer. Well, I know they added him back in eventually, but I had lost interest in the game by then. To have an army of reanimated bones at my command. I mean, honestly, I don't know what I would do with them, but it would be nice to have them all the same. I suppose I'd have a great excuse to wear some spooky robes everywhere I go. I mean, I could do that now, but it's like 97 degrees outside. And without the skeletons to back it up, I just don't think I could pull off the look. But Halloween will soon be here, and everyone can dress however they like, if only for a few days. Though, to be honest, I haven't dressed up for Halloween in a very long time. I get older and things change. My kids don't really care about the holidays anymore, and I suppose that's partly my fault. It was hard to make the holidays happen sometimes. I always thought I'd be the guy that hosted the big family parties the way my aunt used to. I love those parties. Halloween, Christmas, Easter. I still make my kids hunt Easter eggs, and I think they enjoy it. That's what I would do with the skeletons. If I had an army of skeletons, I would take them out into the wilderness and have them construct a big spooky castle where I could host all the parties that I wanted. And when someone came along and demanded that I show them my building permit for the big spooky castle, well, free skeleton. It's good to have plans. Oh, and speaking of plans, I do have something of a surprise planned for the channel. I'm working on a Halloween album, a collection of spooky songs to post at the beginning of October to help everyone get in the mood. It's coming along quite well, though the genre of music I've chosen is a new one for me. I'm having a lot of fun writing the songs now, and I hope you'll like them. As for Princess Sephni here, I think she's coming along nicely. I always had trouble shading Sephni. Fair skin and golden hair made the High Elves a bit of a challenge when it came to shading them in the comic. I have an old friend who recently took issue with D&D changing the Drow to having a purplish skin instead of a traditional Gygaxian jet black. But as any of you familiar with my Shadow Elves will know, I fully support the new purplish tint. It's just way easier to shade. I think us old schoolers sometimes get so caught up in wanting things to stay the way they were that we miss out on some opportunities for a fresh approach. Very often, we resent when changes are made for the sake of appealing to modern audiences, as if modern audiences can't be trusted to appreciate things on their own. And as if the old audience was something to be ashamed of now. But sometimes we're so blinded by nostalgia that we jump to defend things that really could use a bit of updating. Not all change is bad. I mean, I've played in plenty of campaigns where orcs were unrepentant baddies that you didn't have to feel the least remorse about lobbing a fireball at. Sorry, party thief, I didn't see you standing there. Hope you make that dex save. Those campaigns were a lot of fun. But if you've read much Delve, I think you understand that I like to imagine my orcs as a bunch of dumbasses like everybody else, with their own set of rules and morals. And maybe their ways seem pretty barbaric to everyone around them, but it's not because they're some racist caricature of strawman baddies. It's because they're as human as the rest of us. I never liked puppy-kicking villains. I mean, probably because I like puppies so much, but you know what I mean. A puppy kicker is a sadist, and they make for good henchmen in stories, but not good evil bosses. And trying to pass off a whole species as a bunch of puppy-kicking sadists is just lazy writing. Did I just call Tolkien a lazy writer? No, because even Tolkien orcs had some personality. And I think if they didn't have the Nazgul breathing down their necks, his orcs probably would have been content just to let the rest of Middle-earth do its own thing. I mean, they still would have eaten any fat, juicy hobbits that they happened to cross, because, hey, juicy hobbit. But they wouldn't have gone out of their way to lay siege to Minas Tirith. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Tolkien's theme was not that orcs were the problem all along, but that people like Sauron set out with what seemed to them good intentions, and did great evil because of it. So, if the orcs in your fantasy world are all a bunch of sadistic jerks, then that doesn't mean that you're a terrible person or a bad writer. I'd just like you to consider their motivations for being so terrible, and in doing so, you might come up with a much more interesting villain behind it all. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the drawing, and I hope my rambling wasn't too distracting. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me for the little Halloween event I have planned in the weeks ahead. See you next time.